What is up, everybody? We are back. This will be coming out 6 a.m. Thursday. Football is back, guys. We made it. Tonight, we are doing our first ever sports betting preview. So this is exclusively Rams versus Bills betting content. Kansas just legalized sports betting September 1st. So now that we can actually have some skin in the game and actually see what's going on and actually monitor it, we're really going to start hitting this content betting-wise home, start really focusing half of our energy on that, half on fantasy. Real quick, Caden, welcome back to football.
We're here. We made it. It's been a long, 5-7 months, whatever it is in between. And we're real excited. We made a big haul, and come to find out, I was sitting here talking to some people, in our family about it, and then I just started Googling it. Sports betting isn't legal in Texas, and it's also not legal in Oklahoma, which is very surprising to me. You would think at least Texas. I mean, even Oklahoma, they legalized marijuana, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah, and you can't go bet on a football game. But yeah, Kansas legalized it. Prior to that, we couldn't even, the second we logged into any of those apps, we couldn't see anything because it'd get our location and just cancel us out. So now that it's legal, we could get in there, we could see the actual lines. There's a lot of good things that could come of this. I mean, I'm down to make some money, aren't you?
Yeah, I have a few. I could have a really good weekend. I could have a not so good weekend, but I have a lot of free bets right now, so I don't really care.
Yeah. It's a lot different when you got free bets, but I'm gonna, we're gonna bring it to you as if they're not.
I've got a bankroll up $100. I spent all that on this weekend, so I mean, I did put a lot of real money on this. So we have the Rams at home going up against the Bills Thursday night football. Line Buffalo -2.5. Over under depends on your sports book. I've seen 51.5. I've seen 52.5. Caden, where are we where do we side on the spread and the point total?
I like the spread. The point total to me, it's a lot, but if they're two teams like that, more times than not, I feel like they're going to go over on that. I'd take the over because, you got to think a 28-31 game, you're over, right? So you're over by quite a bit at that point. And that's very, very possible for those two teams. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. I like the over in a potential shootout more than I do in something that I know is going to be a low-scoring game. So kind of erring on the side of caution, but I definitely take the over there.
Where do we sit on the spread? Are you Buffalo -2 or the Rams +2?
Buffalo -2.
So I'm in agreement on both. I have Buffalo -2. I think that, well, for one, I'm not sure how healthy Matt Stafford is. Now, I'm assuming that the Rams were just super cautious with him. Everything I saw indicated, like in terms of him actually throwing the football, that things were going right. But we don't necessarily know the health there. However, the Rams they won't have no run game, but Akers isn't going to be what Cam Akers was before the injury. I actually do like Henderson, but they're not just going to be able to pummel the Bills into submission on the ground.
No.
I think the Bills are going to want to come out and make a statement that they're Super Bowl contenders. How do you make that statement? The best beat last year's Super Bowl winner. So yeah, I have Buffalo -2. I'm over 51.5 as well. The Rams and the Bills, both, the majority of the time when playing top 12 offenses last year, went over 51.5 points. And both teams were top 10 scoring offenses. I think it's going to be a shootout. Tre'Davious White's out for the Bills, so you don't have that element to the secondary for the Bills. Von Miller's coming back for the Bills on defense. However, I just don't think it's going to be enough to stop Sean McVay and the Rams. So I think it is going to be a shootout. 28-35 is a really good potential score that I think it might come down
Yeah, I definitely like the over on that. I agree with you. I think it's going to be just an absolute shootout, and I think everybody and their mama knows it. That's why they make these games. That's why they make this the opening game, because they're like, oh, that one. I mean, I'm in the complete thought process that Rams might not have won the Super Bowl if the Bills were there. So yeah, let's get into it.
Do you think that Josh Allen will have a game where he rushes for over 34 yards and passes for over 254 yards?
I mean, with Josh Allen, it's always possible. I think rushing for over 30, what did you say, 35?
34 and a half, yeah, so 35.
I think it's possible. That one's definitely likely. I mean, if I had to say, I'd say yeah on both. I like it to be a pretty big shootout, and Josh Allen will take off and run, so I like that.
Yeah, that's his prop line on, I want to say, DraftKings. And I have a couple bets where I've really, really hammered that home. I really think, I can't reiterate it enough. This game is going to be an awesome one to watch. I think it's going to be a shootout. I had looked back, the last two Thursday night games to start the season went over on their point total. I'm pretty sure. I'm almost certain. So these games are typically shootouts, especially as the quarterback and offensive positions have evolved in these last couple of years. I'm really excited. I can't reiterate that enough, too. So moving on, we're going to talk about some parlay lines. Like I said, 30, 20 minutes of straight betting content. So, Caden, we're going to go over your parlay first. So give me the odds and give me the legs of it.
Okay, so this is one I really like this week. Single game parlay. We got a Cup anytime touchdown. So that essentially means as long as he scores, that hits. And I feel like that's the most complicated piece in this whole 4-leg parlay. But 16 touchdowns last year. He scored in 11 out of 17 games. I love those odds, especially, you talked about Tre'Davious White being out. That just makes it even better for me. Then it's Bills over 17.5 points. Super easy, like you said. Rams over 14.5 points, which is, almost a given, those two. And then Bills over 1.5 TDs. So you got to think about it. When you get into this, you add little fillers to increase the odds. So if you bet they're going to go over 17.5 points, betting 1.5 touchdowns is basically the same thing. They would very small percentage chance that they wouldn't score 1.5 touchdowns going over 17.5 points. So you're really just adding something in to reaffirm what you've already bet. So the odds on that are plus 115. So, you bet $100, you get $115 in return. I just see it as easy money out there for the taking. That's one I like a lot this week.
Yeah, I like the Cup anytime touchdown. I haven't put any money on it just because I want to see how the Cup Robinson dynamic plays out. I still think Cup's going to be the leader, but that's not that. There's an outcome where Robinson's the guy in the red zone, and Cup doesn't see as much of the red zone work. So I haven't put any money on anytime tutty for Cup, but I do like that one a lot. I like the filler too. That's a great way to be profitable, and that's something that will really reiterate a lot during the season. There are two types of betting styles, and one of them is going to be a lot more aggressive type, looking at really, really big parlays every single time, just trying to make it just hit a home run each bet. And then there's some who are a lot more conservative, who are worried about being profitable. I think the odds you said are plus 110, so you're doubling your money and then add $5, $10, $15, not very much. That's a great way to be profitable. And if you stack 10 or 15 of those amongst a 3-week period, you've made a good amount of money.
You paid your rent, probably.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with the small profitable bets. I think personally, I tend to go a little bit more towards the aggressive side, but it's an educated aggressive. It's not a stupid.
but like in that one, the way I mean, 17.5 points, if they do that without scoring 2 touchdowns, you're talking about 3 or 4 field goals. And I just don't think the Bills are. I mean, they can, but I don't think they're that type of team. And that's why I say just add that on. I mean, you could have even gone farther because there's very high line. Like if you go into DraftKings, there's very high lines and there's very low lines. So I picked the over on the lowest score. I mean, I could have got better odds if I would have bet higher, but I mean that's a very conservative, make some money, call it a day kind of bet for me.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I have a feel like that this weekend too. They're just they're singles. I'll hit a couple singles. That gets the bankroll up. My single game parlay. This guy's a plus 1,000 on odds on Barstool, so it's quite a bit more risky. I really like this one. So first leg, Cam Akers under 2.5 receptions. Akers has 14 receptions in 14 career games. When Henderson is there, he's never caught more than 2 passes. In the 3 games he does have over 2 receptions, Henderson was out. Henderson's healthy. I mean, maybe not extremely healthy. There's some soft tissue stuff there, but healthy in terms of the injury report. Cam Akers has come back from a torn Achilles, so his explosiveness is zapped. I just don't see him getting any real usage in the pass game. A check down is going to go to Cooper Kupp. It's not going to go to Cam Akers. So, first leg. Second leg, Allen Robinson over 62.5 receiving yards. I've said it a few times. I think this game is going to be a shootout. And Robinson, he's got a ton of hype out of camp this year. Last year, Robert Woods topped 62 yards in 4 of his 9 games. Odell, 4 of his 8, and that includes the playoffs. I think Robinson's better than both of those guys in the role he's going to be playing. So there's about a 50% shot with the less talented Woods and the less talented OBJ. Robinson comes in. I think he has a higher opportunity share being able to do that. I just the shootout plus no Davis White. I think Robinson's going to get a lot of looks. Third leg, Josh Allen anytime touchdown. It can't be a passing touchdown, but rushing touchdown works. Allen is going to be the goal line back for the Bills again. I don't think Zach Moss has really cut. I don't think he's cut it. We saw it last year. He got phased out of the offense. Devin Singletary is not a bulldozer by any means. Neither is James Cook. So I think Allen's still going to get a lot of goal line opportunities. Again, high-scoring game, a lot of opportunities. The Rams have a good defense. I just think we'll see Allen break one loose at some point. And then lastly, over 51.5 points. Again, I discussed it above. It's going to be a really high-octane offensive matchup. Defenses are okay, but with this level of quarterbacking, the defense doesn't matter as much. That Netchi plus 1,000, I could only get the Cam Akers part in on it when I was on Barstool. So if you're curious and want to do that, you'll have to be able to do it on Barstool Sportsbook. Couldn't do it anywhere else.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is all these apps are just a little bit different. I mean, you'll see stat lines move. You'll see and it's all about taking what you feel convicted about and massaging it in the right way. Cam Akers, I'm not really sure he's all the way healthy, and I think Darrell Henderson's probably the more healthy of the two. So I definitely like that line. A-Rob, I think A-Rob's going to blow up this year. I think we're going to see, because he's still only 20. I mean, it's hard to believe because I remember him, what feels like 10 years ago, playing for the Jaguars. But, yeah, he's still only 28 years old. He's going in, Sean McVay land where everybody does a lot better than everywhere else. After living in fucking complete misery for like the last 8 or so years. So, yeah, definitely like that one. Josh Allen anytime touchdown. That one's going to be – I like it, but I don't know the stats on it. I feel like he gets in there most games, but that'd be the one that would probably sink it for me. And then the 51.5, I like the over on that too. Because, you got to really sit here and think about it. 28 to 24. That's 52 points, right? Pretty easy to accomplish, especially with those two teams, because I feel like Josh Allen and them, they good for about 35, really.
Especially games.
Yeah, at least in a primetime game. Oh yeah, that dude, he's out to prove something now. So I like that.
Cam Akers, over under 43.5 rushing yards.
Under. That's going to be a fucking shootout.
Yeah, so that is minus 110. So you'd be able, as long as I understand it correctly, you'd be able to double your money and then like a little bit. So, no, you would get a hair less than doubling. So it'd be like 45 on a $50 bet. Matt Stafford, over under 1.5 rushing yards.
He fucked me a couple times on that last year. So I'm going to go probably under. Man, I remember one where I was going to. Oh, God, it was a sleeper squads play last year where I hit on like 4 or 5 of them, and it was Tom Brady over half a yard. He took a fucking sack. He had 2 yards. He took a fucking sack, and it was like just put him right at 0. And, yeah, I missed some money there. So I don't like those. I don't like those fucking little quarterback ones because, them dudes might not – they might not fall on a yard. That's the problem.
Darrell Henderson, over under 14.5 rushing yards. Or no, receiving yards. 14.5 receiving yards.
I'd probably do that.
Yeah, I like the over on that as well.
That's not a lot. Yeah, I'd probably do that.
I have a fun one. How do you feel about this bet? So, Dawson Knox to be the first touchdown scorers plus 1,200. If I had $5, that's an okay bet.
That's an okay bet. Yeah.
That's he scored, so he got paid too. That man just got overpaid, but he got paid. Made it look like a cheap deal.
Yeah, that's the thing is that's what he's good for. I went and pulled the stats last year, and it was 8 touchdowns and like 40-something receptions for like 500 yards, and he got paid like a top 5. So that's what he does is he gets in the end zone. But there was a couple multiple games too to where, so you think about it, a lot of times he didn't get in the end zone. When you figure in that math, a lot of times he did. He got paid. I figured it to be about what, $13.5 million a year, ish, somewhere in that range. Damn, a lot of money for, yeah. I think if you take Dawson Knox, you put him on, I don't know, let's say the Seahawks, might not even make the roster.
Yeah, he's he's an okay tight end. He's like Robert Tonyan. I had texted you that earlier. He's like Robert Tonyan. If he plays with a bad quarterback, he looks like shit. If he plays with a good quarterback, he looks good because, well, the quarterback's good.
Well, like I told you, Rob Tonyan didn't make the Detroit Lions roster. That's how he ended up in Green Bay. Didn't make the roster. Which now, sure, but, at the time, unproven, clearly didn't have a good enough camp. TJ Hawkinson was there, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, he got cut, ended up in Green Bay. Good for him, but yeah.
I have a fun prop. Over under 6.5 kicking points from Rams kicker Matt Gay.
Kicking points is that field goals and
plus extra points.
6.5? Fuck, I kind of think I like the under on it.
That's what the Bills kicker is 7.5.
I think I like the over on that one.
Gabe Davis, longest reception, over under 22.5.
See, when you get into this kind of shit, man, it's really like a coin flip.
I don't bet these. I don't bet longest reception. I'll bet reception total sometimes, but I won't bet longest reception. I won't bet longest rush for quarterbacks or running backs. Like the shit that is just like all luck based, I don't want any part of
Yeah, I see some of them where it's like, man, that's so like. There's a lot of different things that could really fuck that up to you, and I'm not wanting to bake that into like a real nice parlay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, and Gabe Davis fucks around and gets a 27-yard reception, then I got to beat my face in the fucking table later. Like, no.
Yeah, I would go over. I feel like Gabe Davis. I hate him. I'm a documented hater. But in this game, with the atmosphere I'm assuming it'll have, I could see him getting loose for one.
Everybody's trying to build him up to be T. Higgins, but he's not.
He is
That's it. I mean, he's right getting drafted in that same fucking range as T. Higgins. And he's done not absolutely nothing, but he hasn't earned that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
T. Higgins was a wide receiver 1 last year, being the second wide receiver on his team. Gabe Davis blew up in a playoff game, and everybody thinks it's just going to keep going. Well, it's been 6 months since then, so kind of hard to say that.
Allen Robinson over under 5.5 receptions.
I think I like the over in that one. That one would be a close one for me. I'd probably take the over if I had to pick one or the other, but I think it's very possible he goes under too.
Yeah, that's a 50-50 one to me. I can see somewhere where he goes over. I'd go one where he goes under. I think if it was 3.5, I'd go over really, really easy.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not sure if he gets 6. Cooper Kupp over under 7.5 receptions.
God damn, under. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot to set as a floor. You know what I'm saying?
I like the over on it.
You do?
If
I
it's
guess
a shootout, I bet he sees 15 targets. If it's a shootout, 14, 13, 12. I mean, they'll throw the ball.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Stafford really does fucking force it to him.
I feel like that's a little low. I feel like 9.5 might be more equitable. I feel like 7.5 is kind of low. I'm checking right now what his catches.
If he had
move on to the next line, but
if he had 5-6, I think I'd be real good taking that. But yeah, there's a couple props I really like this week. One of them's Gabe Davis under 61.5. I don't know if that line's moved since we decided that. 61.5 receiving yards. You got to look at one of the things that really sticks out to me with this line is you look at some of the other receivers. I think Devontae Adams is like 65. And these could vary based on platforms, but I'm just looking around and I see other way better receivers in way better positions in better matchups being close to or a lot less. So, I mean, they just really assume this guy is going to go nuclear. I don't, especially this week. So I'm going to go under on that one. The second line I like is Stephon Diggs over 5.5 receptions because, like you said, it's going to be a shootout. It's something that I feel like I'm really big on the Josh Allen's probably going to be the MVP and Stephon Diggs is going to have one of them years. So 5.5 receptions to me. I mean, you just said it. Cooper Kupp 7.5. I think 5.5 is very, very easy for Stephon Diggs. Because you got to realize there isn't a whole I understand Jalen Ramsey plays for the other team, but he doesn't always. There's not a whole lot of corners that go and stick to that number one wide receiver the whole game. They don't really do that as much anymore.
Yeah, he moves around now, so he's not.
Yeah.
Diggs.
They don't. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that's not a thing that really happens that much anymore, and it's happening less and less as time goes on. So, I love 5.5 receptions for Stephon Diggs. What are your lock plays this week?
So my lock plays I've already kind of talked about with Akers under 2.5 receptions. And then I have an Allen anytime touchdown as a lock. I really think that's going to be a done deal. But I have a couple more fun lines that I like. I don't have any money on it, but I thought about it. There's a James Cook anytime touchdown score line at plus 550. If he gets in the game, it's going to be to try to get him in space to score. So for plus 550 odds, if you put $25 on that, you make a pretty little penny back. It's not super likely, but
You ain't gonna retire on it. Yeah.
There's a reality where that happens. My other one, and this one's going to be more of a lock rather than one that's just like made up or hypothetical that I really didn't bet. I have some Isaiah McKenzie over 3.5 receptions. He won the slot role, allegedly. I'm still not super sure Crowder doesn't end up with it at some point. But for now, McKenzie's the guy in the slot. They target the shit out of the slot. Beasley's seen 100-plus targets his last 3 seasons. Again, I think it's going to be a high-octane game. I've said it like 12 times. McKenzie's going to see more than 4 catches. 5, 6, I think, is reasonable. He's going to be the guy underneath taking pressure off of Allen when the pass rush is getting home. So those would probably be my 2. I mean, there are a couple other lines I like. I bet a whole bunch of them. The Allen Robinson over on receiving yards I have a lot of. I don't have anything on Cooper Kupp. Again, I'm just kind of waiting. I don't know. Does Cooper Kupp end up being like a guy who, just because it's easy to use this, a guy that's like a wide receiver 5 in fantasy instead of wide receiver 1? Or is he still that dominant, like Jerry Rice-esque statistical output guy?
I mean, at this moment, personally, I don't see anyone not named Justin Jefferson that's really gonna argue that too much. I mean, I think the addition of Allen Robinson really hurts that at least a little bit. But, I mean, I think Justin Jefferson's a wide receiver 1. I think Cooper Kupp's floor is like 3 for me. I think that's kind of where it is. I don't think he's going to get damn near 2,000 yards and 16 touchdowns again, but you think, damn it, Cat. You think, I don't know, 1,500 yards and 10. Yeah. But that's still a great season. Still a great season.
If you want to make some money, I'd bet a whole bunch of Cam Akers unders. I've seen some good ones. I think his longest rush is 9.5 over under. I'll hammer that under. He's not going to get a 10-yard run. No way in hell. But anything else?
I'm not convinced he's healthy at all.
Oh, I know he's not. No one comes back from that, right? And he rushed back. He looked like shit when he came back. And I mean that in the nicest way possible.
And I was hyped for it, too. I was like, oh, yeah, he's going to come back. Yeah. No, he did not. I mean, he came. Yeah, sure, he came back. But it wasn't any.
Get too high on that train. I'm glad I didn't because he looked slow and unexplosive when he played, which is worrisome when you play in an outside zone scheme. And they did some gap stuff last year with Michelle, but Akers isn't built to be a gap guy. So, yeah, no fun in Rams land on that. Henderson's going to be the better back.
I do think he is. Yeah, I think he's a value in fantasy. You could get him. Not even a couple rounds later. You're talking complete other end of the draft. And I think Akers is injury prone, so I got quite a bit of Darrell Henderson in fantasy this year. I think he's there is some weird like name discrepancies when it comes to like ADP where they're like, oh, Cam Akers, or my favorite's Breece Hall. Well, I'm not really sure that's a thing yet. I'm not saying it's not going to be a thing, but I'd rather take Michael Carter that I could get 12 rounds later, and really, really be flipping the same coin. You know what I mean? Like it could be him, it could be Michael Carter. Who the fuck knows?
Hey, with Wilson out 4 weeks, Carter's a value play in DFS. He went off without Zach Wilson, but with Zach Wilson, did not look good.
No.
Is Zach Wilson going to be the starter next year in New York?
Next year?
Mm-hmm.
He better come out and have a real good 13 games because we know they're not going to the playoffs, right? He better finish pretty damn strong because, next year's a good quarterback draft. If I was a subpar quarterback in the NFL right now and some of them guys get a 1-year pass, so Kenny Pickett really doesn't need to look over his shoulder. But anybody who got drafted before him, oh man, Trevor Lawrence is probably fine. But if I'm Zach Wilson, if I'm Trey Lance, I mean, there's a lot of talent in next year's draft. So I'd be really trying to have a good year.
I heard Trey Lance was upset that Garoppolo resigned.
What does it matter to him?
Because Garoppolo might end up being the starter.
Well, I mean, if he goes out there and throws a fucking, I mean, that's the thing about them motherfuckers in San Francisco are kind of shady. You saw that post. You're the best person in camp, and 3 days later you ain't got a job. So I don't know how much you trust him. Yeah, that's probably what he's thinking. He's like, "Fuck, Bryce Young's gonna be in here."
Anything else we want to hit on?
No, man. I mean, got some good plays this week. I look at a lot of it. I got one that I played on. I got my Hail Mary plays, right? Like I'm going to tell everybody what is going to help them, benefit financially. But I got a couple of them bet $50 and take home $60,000 type of things. But that's a Hail Mary there. But I do have one where I pick 10 money lines, and it's a $25 free bet that you come out with $3,300. So I like that one because it's 10 really easy picks. And it's one of those things where they're so easy. Like if I thought it was going to be anywhere close, I didn't pick it. And some real fuckery would have to happen for that one not to hit. I mean, like, for instance, the Giants beating the Titans. In no realm of reality should that happen. But if it does, it would sink that one. So it would sink. If the Giants beat the Titans, it's going to sink a lot of my shit this week. But it shouldn't happen, right?
I have a couple parlays I'd like to build that are Colts money line, Jonathan Taylor anytime touchdown, Jonathan Taylor over 74.5 rushing yards, paired with Titans money line, Derrick Henry over 74.5 rushing yards. I didn't do the Derrick Henry anytime touchdown. If you wanted to throw that in there, just add to the potential profit. But Jonathan Taylor fucking shits all over the Texans every fucking time they play.
Twice a year. Yep. That's usually it. I mean, our defense isn't good. I mean, it's just not. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor is actually part owner of the Houston Texans. So, and the other part owner is Derrick Henry. So they're co-owners, and the AFC South is not a nice place to be.
Trevor Lawrence going to be turning you guys up too.
If you're a fucking linebacker, it's not a good place to be.
Last year against Houston, Jonathan Taylor had 14 carries and he ran for 158 yards. That's the first matchup. Second matchup, 32 carries for 143. So there was a fight that got put up the second time a little bit. It wasn't a 10-yard per carry outing like the first time.
Oh no, because I remember the first game because I was watching it. It was right before half, right before the quarter ended, and I didn't even think they were going to take the play, but they did, and he ran like 80-something yards right into the end zone. I swear to God, some of our linebackers just fucking jumped out of the way, and which was fine because I had him in fantasy that year. So I was like, it was one of those things where you're torn, right? Like, you're like, oh yeah, that's great, but then you're like, oh, it's literally shitting on my actual football team. So yeah, one of those mixed emotions type of deals.
He's so good. I love watching him run. He's so good.
I got a lot of Jonathan Taylor. I do.
I am not. I will not spend. Well, you got lucky on one of them. The other one, I'm just not going to spend that much. All right. I think that's all we have. Football's back, guys. We'll be back Sunday morning early. I dropped those at 6. Sunday morning with a love-hate show. More betting stuff. Lots of betting this year. I'll have some betting shorts on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe there. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back Saturday.